back to the Fearless Females Voice podcast, where women's stories and experiences are shared to empower and inspire others. In this episode, I am going solo and talking all about overwhelm. Have you ever felt like you have so much going on and that you're distracted and deep within your own thoughts that you can't really get much done? It may feel like you're a bit unproductive. Well, this is pretty much the feeling of overwhelm. And I've spoken to many women and my clients around this feeling and what it's actually meant for them and what it's actually caused them to feel and to do and to think. I love going through this topic because there are so many people dealing with it. I've dealt with it myself. And what tends to happen is when you're feeling overwhelmed, you freeze because things are getting too much. Overwhelm will slow you down. It will make you feel unproductive. And overall, it can really stop you from moving forwards. Now, there's many reasons why you may feel overwhelmed. And some of them include having too many things to do, or being under tight deadlines and having high pressure on yourself. It may be caused from a lack of sleep, so you're feeling quite tired, therefore overwhelm and things are hitting you. It may be that you're in a new environment or doing new things which you don't really have previous information or knowledge about, so it can get a bit overwhelming. This is why coming out of your comfort zone, going through changes in life, and experiencing new things can be overwhelming. And the reason why people tend to avoid them, because let's face it, staying exactly where you are in your comfortable place is nice, it's cozy, it's warm, it's happy. And to think you'd move away from that is a whole nother challenge within itself. So as I mentioned, I've experienced overwhelm plenty of times. And in fact, I had a little stint of it last week, but I'll go into that a little later. So feeling overwhelmed is quite common. And I've heard, as I said, many of my clients and women speak about how it has impacted them. So as I've grown older, I've had more and more things that I'm getting involved in. I'm trying new things. I'm taking myself out my comfort zone, taking risks in life, and I'm developing. This is something that I just enjoy. I love growth. I love personal development. And this is how I want my life to be. But with this new territory of tasks and new zones that I enter, there is some sense of overwhelm. So for example, I remember when I first got my promotion. This is in my first ever job that I ever had in my 20s. And at the time, I was so excited. I was working super hard to get this promotion. And I was in a role, I think I was in it for about 12 months. And in that role that I was doing, I was in a position where I was comfortable. I was pretty much ready to move on. I was ready to be promoted. So I was excited when it happened. And I had set high expectations for myself to do really well in this new role and perform at a high standard. And as soon as I got into the role, there were so many new things coming my way. There were new team members that I had to speak to and that I was getting used to communicating to. There were new ways of working. There were new tasks that were being thrown my way that I didn't really know how to deal with. This triggered my overwhelm, and I remember it so clearly. I felt like I had so much to do in such little time that I was drowning, and I didn't really know how to get out of it. And at the time, I didn't even know what overwhelm was, and I wasn't really thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. I just didn't know how to deal with it. So I did what I knew best. I plowed on. I just got on with it. I threw my time and my energy at it. This may not have been the best way to deal with it, but it worked for me at the time. And I was speaking to someone recently about this, and we were talking about overwhelm and throwing your energy and time into something when you're feeling like there's so many things going on and you need to get them all done. This is one way that leads to burnout. Because burnout is when you're doing so many different things, or it's a state of mind where you just feel like you're not productive, you're not getting enough stuff done, there's too many things going on, and you're spending a lot of time and energy doing these things. Anyway, after 6 months into my role, I was getting used to the workloads and the tasks. I knew who to ask for doing what, and I knew how to do well in my role. And that's when it no longer became overwhelming. As I mentioned, when we're starting new things in life, whatever that is, it can be overwhelming because there's so many new things being thrown our way, but we will get used to it. That's just how it is, and things will get easier. So when there's a lot going on in life, we tend to throw our time into it. We get overwhelmed by the amount of things there are to do, when in actual fact, it's all manageable. But it's what our mind is telling us, which is different to the reality of things. And I'll give you an example. I was speaking to one of my clients yesterday, and she's in this state where she has a full-time job. She's currently looking for a new job, and she's right in the middle of her wedding planning. In fact, her wedding is really soon. So it's towards the end of wedding planning when there's so many little things to be sorted out. And she was saying to me how overwhelmed she's feeling. Now, she's feeling overwhelmed because there's so many different things to do, and there's a lot going on. And this is causing her to slow down and be unproductive, and she doesn't know what to do first. When in actual fact, we talked it through. We looked at the list of things that she had to do, the non-negotiables of it, and the way she manages her time. And we realized that actually all the tasks that need doing are very manageable in the timescale, but it's just the fact that she's looking at the overall picture, thinking there's all these things going on, and the fact that she thinks she needs to get them done now, when in actual fact, there's a timeline which she can spread that out across. So she recognized that it was her mind saying to her, I've got so much to do. But actually, in reality, it wasn't that much when we broke it down. So feeling overwhelmed comes from trying to do too many tasks at once. I've been raised thinking that multitasking is impressive and that we should all be doing it. I remember learning about it in school and doing things in parallel, and this then translated onto my career as well. I remember my colleagues and my managers saying to me, multitasking is great, do this task, open this email, get things done, switch between tasks. And at the time, I was trying to manage it all and get it all done. And I was thinking, this isn't working for me. Because multitasking means that you get things done in parallel. And yes, it can save time. But the more I did it, the more I realized it's so unproductive. I am so much quicker and more efficient at getting something done when I'm focusing on one task at a time and spending my time on getting it done and then moving on to the next. And this is something that I would like more of you to try. Stop getting into the trap of thinking multitasking is going to be efficient for you. Try doing one thing at a time. So when I have my phone next to me or emails open at the same time as I'm working on my business or trying to work on social media or even record a podcast, let's say, I get flustered and respond and react to my notifications. My phone's going off and I'm thinking, oh, what if there's something urgent? What if someone needs something? When in fact, they can actually wait because I'm doing something. These notifications disrupt my flow of work and I end up moving from one task to another. My mind is thinking of all these different things instead of focusing on the one thing that I should be doing. This then makes me feel like I'm not really getting anything done or that there isn't enough time. But there is enough time. There's always enough time. It's how you choose to work and how productive you are. That's what matters. So my clients have built incredible habits through my Stuck to Success program, and it's amazing to see their progress. But sometimes they do have bad days. I mean, I have bad days as well. As I mentioned last week, I felt this sense of overwhelm because I was introducing a new work stream into my business, and I wasn't quite sure how to deal with it with the rest of my tasks. So I was getting overwhelmed and flicking between one task and the other. And luckily, I've caught it very early. And this week, I've changed my ways of working. I have bad months as well. It's not even a day. It could be a week. It could be a month. And my clients have them too. We all have them. I'm sure you've had them as well. This may mean that you let your habits slip. This may mean that you're going back to your old ways and things are piling up. Things are getting worse than they should be. This could be, for example, you not going to the gym on one day, and then that then translates to being, okay, I'm probably not going to go the day after or the day after that, or maybe I'll just have a pizza on the weekend. That then turns into 3 takeaways in the week. And this can continue on. But when you're in that state of mind, it's fine, because we all have bad days. And I don't mind if this happens to my clients. I don't mind if it happens to myself, because it's normal if you're falling into bad habits and having bad days. But I do mind if that then leads to someone quitting something. The last thing I want you to do, or I want my clients to do, is quit, because they've already progressed so far to create habits. They've already progressed so far to get things in place. If they're having a bad day or a week, it doesn't give them the reason or the excuse to actually just quit completely. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it's easy to quit. You might think, oh, I can't do it, or there's too much going on, or I'll just skip that part, or I'll stop trying to work on it completely. This is what I don't want any of you to do. Falling off track is fine, but quitting is not. Dealing with overwhelm is getting back on track and working on your habits again and continuing your progress. Don't scrap that progress, because it's there, whether it's tangible or intangible, whether it's something that you're physically doing or it's in your mind, your mindset, your rest. This is all progress. So here are some tips to help you overcome this overwhelm. Number 1, when you are working or doing a task, focus on just one task. Don't have your emails open or your phone next to you. So what I do is, if I'm working, I keep my phone in another room during the day. And I streamline what's going on my screen. So I don't have, for example, Facebook or Instagram open or any other tabs open. So when I'm, for example, writing a social media post, or if I'm recording a podcast, or if I'm writing an article, it's purely the time that I've set to do that one task, and nothing can distract me. Number 2, time block. So time block basically means you dedicate certain time periods to certain tasks. So if you have emails or messages to respond to, block out a time in your calendar or your day to do so. So don't go on your phone whilst you're working or doing a task, because that's just going to distract you. So for example, I check my phone for whether it's DMs or messages or emails in a certain period of time. So I do that in the afternoon. That's my chunk of time that I dedicate towards that. And until then, I won't really go into my inbox. Or I turn my phone off around 8, 9 p.m. In the evening, and then I turn it back on around 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning. So when I wake up, instead of being on my phone, which I know would distract me, I read, or I journal, or I go for walks, and I have time to myself. I focus on the tasks which I want to get done. Same for during the day. So you can time block your work tasks, so you know exactly what task will get done during what time, because you've allocated that time to it, and it removes any distraction throughout the day. Number 3, set expectations with others. What I mean by this is, if you're receiving messages, for example, throughout the day, whether that's emails, whether that's texts, messages, whatever, then you may respond to them straight away as soon as a notification comes up. This basically shows that you're making yourself available to others. Others will think that you're always available and ready to respond, and they will be expecting this in the future as well. Whereas if you manage their expectations and say, hey, I'm at work, so I'll respond in the evening, or better yet, don't even reply until you're free, then they'll understand that they don't have access to you 24/7. This gives you time back to yourself. And it's easy to fall into the trap of being there for others all the time. But what about being there for yourself? What about putting yourself first? I'm good with my phone, but my close friends and family and my clients know that I turn my phone off in the evenings, and I'm then available from mid-morning onwards. This allows me to have time to myself. Also, I'm not, let's say, the quickest at responding back to messages, but for me, that works great because it means I'm not constantly on my phone and it's not a distraction. I also don't expect somebody else to reply back to me straight away because everyone has their own lives and I respect and I understand that. And everyone's dealing with their own thing. So these are a few of my tips, and I hope that they've helped you. I'd love to hear more about your experiences with overwhelm. So do let me know by reaching out on my social media or my emails. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And if you've enjoyed it, then be sure to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening.